So back in trial today in the Derek Chauvin case for the homicide of George Floyd, and now the judge is wrestling with the impact of a $27 million settlement. What does that settlement do for the prospect of justice? Let's talk about that. Because justice matters. Hey all, Glenn Kirshner here. So the trial of Derek Chauvin for the homicide of George Floyd is up and running again in court, and there has been a really big development in recent days. That development, of course, is the $27 million settlement reached between the city of Minneapolis and George Floyd's family. So that's not a development in the case or in the trial itself, but it certainly has implications for the prospect of a fair trial moving forward. To say that this is a problematic development for the trial is perhaps an understatement, but let's go through a couple of the obvious reasons it's problematic. First of all, this case is already high profile. It's already highly emotional. This case involves an incident that was caught on video, right, for all to see, including all of those folks who may be asked to serve as jurors. And whereas that's a challenge for being able to pick a fair and impartial jury, it's not impossible because, the jurors, they're going to see that tape over and over again during the course of the trial itself. So as long as they can tell the judge and the prosecutor and the defense during jury selection that they can put out of their mind any preconceived opinions or conclusions they may have reached from seeing that video previously and sort of watch it through fresh eyes during the trial and reach their opinion, guilt or innocence, based only on the evidence they see introduced during the course of the trial, you can still impanel a fair and impartial jury. However, when you now add to the mix the fact that the city of Minneapolis, in a wrongful death case, an excessive force case, a civil rights case, reached the conclusion that the police department, the police officers were wrong, and they were wrong to the tune of $27 million. That's a whole lot of wrong. And the city agreed to pay George Floyd's family $27 million to address that wrong. How do you ask jurors to put that out of their minds? Because they may have seen the video previously, they may have reached some opinions and conclusions on their own that they can put out of their minds. But now they know that the city of Minneapolis has reached conclusions to the tune of $27 million about the police officers doing wrong. So based on that development, not surprisingly, the first order of business this morning, when court was back up and running, was to address the consequences, the impact of this unprecedented settlement being reached by the city of Minneapolis. And the defense attorney, appropriately in my opinion, asked for a few things. First, he said, "Judge, we'd like you to continue this trial because this evidence is so fresh and raw, and we need to put some time between the announcement of this $27 million settlement and the time we ultimately go to trial." So the first request from Chauvin's defense attorney was for a continuance. The second request was for a change of venue, just a fancy way of saying we'd like you to move the trial to another community, not in the emotional zone right here in Minneapolis. And then the third request was to get more strikes of jurors. So they have a greater ability to strike as many jurors as they need if those jurors have any lingering doubt about their ability to be fair and impartial, given this new information that they undoubtedly heard about. The judge essentially denied all of those requests. However, he took them under advisement. So I don't think these decisions have definitively been reached by the judge. But the judge did say, let's go ahead and proceed with jury selection. Let's keep going. Let's keep asking the jurors if they can be fair and impartial based on everything they know, including what they may have just learned about this $27 million settlement. So it sounds like the judge, at least preliminarily, is determined to keep going, but he did say he would revisit these issues and reach a definitive conclusion in the near future. I have to say, if jurors know about this $27 million settlement, it's awfully hard to unring that bell. Once they heard it, once they have drawn whatever opinions and conclusions about it that they may have drawn, it's tough to unring that bell. And it will take some really strong jurors to say, I can put everything out of my mind. I can set it all aside. Any opinions I may have reached from watching the video previously, any opinions I may have reached based on the $27 million settlement by the city of Minneapolis, I can put it all out of my mind, and I can fairly and impartially judge this case based only on the evidence I hear during the course of the trial. I believe in our jury system. I think they can still pick a fair, impartial jury. My concern, and I'll close with this, is this settlement being announced in the midst of jury selection has injected a significant issue into the trial. That, in the event of conviction, Derek Chauvin's appellate lawyers will be able to argue on appeal, impacted his ability to get a fair trial. Stay tuned, folks, because I'm sure there are lots of twists and turns coming, and we will all be watching with keen interest, hoping that at the end of this process, there is some justice delivered to George Floyd and his family and the community, because justice matters.